All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Jester Section Hiker Podcast. I am your host, Julie Jester Gayheart, and welcome back to our second episode about our journey and trek on the Appalachian Trail through the Shenandoah National Park. And you guys, today I am going to be recapping the second half of our trip, which is going to be days 6 through 10. And I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all up front that Wheezy P, or Maria Wishart, most of y'all know her as Wheezy P. She did put our Northbound itinerary together for us as we went through the park. And last week I went over days 1 through 5. And on this week's episode, I am going to recap days 6 through 10. And I wanted to let you all know as well, if you want to take a look at our specific itinerary, it is going to be in today's show notes, wherever you listen to your podcast, and over on the Julie Gayheart YouTube channel. And I wanted to start off by saying, and just a reminder, that we did start our Northbound trek through the park on June 12th, 2024. We started at Rockfish Gap, which is the southern boundary for the park, where the AT enters the Shenandoah National Park, and that is northbound mile, according to Far Out, 864.5. And we did finish the park on Friday, June 21st, at the northern park boundary, AT mile, northbound mile, 968.8, for a total of 104.3 miles through the park. Let me try that again, for a total of 104.3 miles, southern boundary to northern boundary, 10 days. Very, very proud of that effort, not only by myself, but by Wheezy P and her dog Boots. We all three made it through the park, utilizing Wheezy P's original itinerary that she had made for us to go through the park. And actually, it worked out. That itinerary worked out fantastic. So again, you can find that in today's show notes and over on today's show, if you are listening on YouTube, on the Julie Gayheart YouTube channel. One of the things that I wanted to go over and let you all know, that I really had no clue that Shenandoah National Park was actually broken into what they call districts. So as you're going through the park on the AT, there's the Southern District, the Central District, and the Northern District. So really, days 1 through 5 in the episode that came out last week, we started in the Southern District and we were moving towards the Central District, which is really the centralizing place of the park is Big Meadows Campground. So day 5, we kind of ended off almost walking through Big Meadows Campground, but we actually ended up doing that on day 6. And before I go any further, before I go over our mileage for days 6 through 10, I did want to let you know that Far Out now has all of the trails utilized on their app. You can download the Shenandoah National Park app within Far Out, and you will be able to see all 500 miles plus of trails that go through Shenandoah National Park. So if any of you are interested in doing all 500 miles of the trail, Far Out now has that available in their app. And I did have that downloaded on my phone as well, so I could see like side trails and various things as we went along in the park. So that is just an FYI. Let's get to this mileage. So day 6, we did 10.9 miles, which took us through the backside of Big Meadows. You can kind of see the campground. There's a side trail to the amphitheater. There's a side trail to get to the wayside in Big Meadows where all the food is. If you could figure out where the AT kind of skirts around the campground, they have some excellent campsites or tent sites for hikers that actually butt right back up to the Appalachian Trail. So day 6, 10.9 miles. Day 7, we did 12.2 miles. And one of the highlights of day 7 was going past another area where you can eat at a restaurant. I believe you can get rooms there, the Skyland Resort or the Skyland Restaurant. They don't necessarily have a wayside, but they do have a restaurant. They do have a gift shop and somewhat of a camp store where you could do resupply if you wanted to. And Stephanie and Wheezy P ate lunch at Skyland. I was moving and grooving on the trail, so I just wanted to kind of keep going. So I did not eat lunch at Skyland that day, but we did take a huge break after Skyland. About 3 or 4 miles past Skyland, you hit an area called the Pinnacles picnic area, and the AT goes right through the Pinnacles picnic area. And oh my goodness, I took the longest break at that area. They do have flush toilets there. They also have pit toilets there. I actually sat in a chair with a fan on me and ate some pineapple with, my good old famous fat-free Ready Whip. And that was exciting. And then Wheezy P made our way down to our end point that day. Day number 8, we did 11.1 miles. And after that day, we all decided we should have a decent meal that evening. So we all went back to Skyland and ate really good that evening. I think I had a half a chicken order, some rice, and I can't remember if I had green beans I had asparagus. So I had a really good meal that evening, and that meal even carried over to the day 9, which was our longest day in the park, 13.5 miles. And that was a tough day. It began to get really warm in the afternoon. The trail was really dry. And thank goodness for Stephanie meeting us multiple times that day along Skyline Drive, where we could fuel up on water. We could fuel up on snacks and carbohydrates and protein and whatever we needed to get us through the day. And then day number 10, we ended up doing, it was 2 miles to the park boundary, the northern end of the park. And then, of course, we had to do 2 miles back to the parking area. So day 10, we actually ended up doing 4 miles, which was an out and back to the park boundary and then back to the parking area. So unfortunately, the Matthews Arm Campground is still not open as of today. I believe we ended, what did I say, June? Let me look back here. We ended Friday, June 21st. So as of that day, the Matthews Arm Campground was still not open, which would have been more convenient for us to move from Loft Mountain Wayside to the middle of the park, the Central District, which is Big Meadows Campground, and then move to the Northern District, which was Matthews Arm Campground, which unfortunately, like I said, was not open. The good news is, in between Skyland, there is another wayside, the Elk Wallow Wayside, which basically they have bathrooms, they have food, they have good resupply, and the trail basically goes right by Elk Wallow. There is a little side trail that takes you down there, but there is no way you can miss that. So as of the time of this recording, which is June 2024, basically we went through the park utilizing the campgrounds and also utilizing the waysides. If you'll remember from last week's episode, we started off at Loft Mountain Campground, then there was Loft Mountain Wayside, then we moved to Big Meadows, and Big Meadows has a wayside, and then after Big Meadows there is a place called Skyland that I just talked about earlier in this episode with a restaurant. They have rooms, they have a gift shop, and then after Skyland is the Elk Wallow Wayside. And then if Matthews Arm Campground would have been open, we would have stayed there as well, but it is closed, and it looks like it's going to be closed until July 2024. So basically, logistically, that is how we went through the park, utilizing the campgrounds, utilizing the waysides. And then we had Stephanie meeting us at various points along the way, along Skyline Drive. She refueled us with water. She made sure we had everything we needed. And we are actually traveling in our Sprinter van. So that made things really, really, really convenient and logistically very helpful, because the trail, if there's an overall arching theme right now in June 2024, going through Shenandoah National Park, the trail is very dry. And they have not had rain in several weeks. So if you're able to slack pack, day hike, section hike through the park with someone utilizing all the resources that are available at the campsites, at the waysides, you are able to get through right now. If you are through hiking, it is definitely tougher because you're having to go down to all the huts, all the springs that are available, and obviously you have to go down to water. A lot of the huts are either 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 off of the Appalachian Trail, or you're having to do bigger mileage so you can get from campsite to wayside to campsite to wayside to campsite. And that's kind of the way that the thru hikers that we saw were making their way through the park, and that was doing higher mileage. That kind of rounds out logistically how we went through the park, what our mileage looks like on a daily basis. And I will say the theme of days 6 through 10 for us were, number one, it was still lush. It was still green, but you could tell the ground without the rain was just getting drier and drier. And the first time we saw vividly flowing water was on day 9, actually on the trail. And I was so excited, I almost stuck my head in the pipe, but I actually didn't do that. I wanted to, and I should have now that I look back at it. If you're getting ready to go through Shenandoah National Park this summer, 2024, just start doing your research, call ahead, call some of the campsites, call some of the waysides, see how things are going, check their hours of operation. That is vitally important because like Skyland Restaurant is open, their hours are different than the Elk Wallow Wayside. So just check your resources, plan accordingly, and you will be absolutely fine. One of the things in the theme that I was talking about earlier, or that I'm wanting to get into, was definitely the heat. It was getting more warm as we went on those last days, especially days 7, 8, and 9. So kind of what we did is we drank more water. We added more electrolytes to our water. I think I figured out I was drinking 4 to 5 liters of electrolyte water per day, and that helped really, really well. Another thing we did in the heat is we slowed down. We took more what I would call mini breaks, looked for good places to sit, even for just a few minutes on the trail. We actually took longer breaks when we would meet up with Stephanie if we were crossing the road, or we ended up in a parking area on Skyline Drive, because again, the Appalachian Trail goes over Skyline Drive multiple times. On those longer breaks, and I actually did this from day 1, I always took my shoes off. I pulled my socks, down. That way my feet could air out, dry out. I even cleaned my feet on multiple occasions before putting my socks and trail runners back on, and that helped me tremendously. As we got into a couple of our longer days, like on day 7, we did 12.2 miles. On day 9, we did 13.5 miles. Especially on day 9, we had an earlier start. We tried to keep moving, even at a slower pace, just trying to get a rhythm and get the majority of our miles in before 1 or 2 p.m. And that's kind of how we dealt with and took on the day. And those last several days, for me, I just tried to get into a rhythm, a pace that I could sustain, whether I was going on the flats, whether I was going downhill, or whether I was going uphill. And that really kind of helped me regulate my body temperature, was to try to find a pace that I could actually maintain all day. And that really helped me. And that is kind of the way that I'm used to hiking, is find a pace that you can sustain. Don't overkill yourself on the hills. Don't overdo it on the downhills. Just try to find that slow, steady pace so you can keep going all day long. And that felt really good, really honing in on that and try to figure that out, especially in those latter days 7, 8, and 9. So that is really what I tried to work on, and really what I'm trying to work on and focus on going forward, as well as I get ready to get back on the trail here in New York. So that kind of rounded out our 10 days in Shenandoah National Park. And I will say it was really good training ground. And if anything, for me, it was an extremely good confidence builder. Really being able to get out there on terrain that's not extremely difficult, that's not, just walking around my local nature preserve, but to really kind of put my foot to a test on the Appalachian Trail. And I will say my foot and I even exceeded my own expectations prior to these 10 days. So it worked out really well. It was almost like a shakedown hike before the real hiking begins, actually here tomorrow up in New York. I wanted to kind of cover really how I handled nutrition and how my thought process was throughout these 10 days. I definitely 100% got my protein in, as much protein in as I could in the morning before we started hiking. I did take in a lot of carbs early in the AM, in the early afternoon. And then when we were done hiking for the day, I did my best to get in as much protein as I could. And when I say protein in the morning, I had my 20 grams of protein in my coffee. The collagen protein that I get from Bare Performance Nutrition that is unflavored, had that in my coffee every morning. The next set of protein either came from protein bars. I found a really good oatmeal that has protein in it and carbs by Kodiak that I ate in the morning, whether that was actual oatmeal or that was actual carbs from protein bars. The Quest protein bars were very clutch. That's what the kids say in high school, very clutch for me during the day. And I would say the first 5 days or so with the protein, I was kind of worried about it. What am I doing? Am I getting enough in? And then really on the back half, like days 6 through 10, it was all about calories in and calories out. It was all about fuel. It's like all of a sudden my brain switched and I was like, I need fuel. I need fuel to get through these longer days, and I need fuel to, sustain my slow and steady pace that I was doing or trying to sustain so I could hike the miles that we needed to hike. And one of the things that really helped me were Smucker's peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, I guess. So in the freezer section at your local grocery store, you can find Smucker's peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I believe they have 210 or 250 calories per sandwich. I think they're like for kids' lunches, but they came in very, very, very helpful. And I ended up eating 2 or 3 of those a day. I ate a lot of almonds. I ate a lot of protein bars. I used goo. It's got carbohydrates. It's got salt. And a lot of times, if I knew we were having a longer climb coming up, I would take a goo before we started the climb. And my favorite flavor of goo is the vanilla bean. The other thing that was very, very clutch was electrolytes. I literally had no plain water. Every single bit of water I took in was electrolyte filled, and I use the Noon NUUN electrolyte tablets. And by the end of the trek, I started off using 2 tablets per 1 liter of water. And by the end of the 10 days, I was putting in 3 tablets per 1 liter of water. That's how much we were sweating and working hard on the trail. So by no means am I a nutrition expert. I am learning and growing with my nutrition on the trail as we go. And my plan is this summer is to continue learning, continue trying different things to see what works. And as much as possible while I'm out here, get protein sources in my body at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. And it seems to be working out. Today, I kind of consider like a town day. We are in town. We are getting groceries. We are doing laundry. And I'm eating like protein all day long. I've been craving it. My body wants more protein. So that is what I am going to give it. There you have it. That is our Shenandoah National Park northbound trek through the Appalachian Trail. In this episode, days 6 through 10. In last week's episode, days 1 through 5. And I will say, if you don't follow me on Instagram, you can go over to my Instagram account, Jester Section Hiker. Wheezy P and I tried to go live as much as possible while we were out on the trail. So if you want to check those lives out, I think they're also on my Facebook, my Julie Gayheart Facebook page. But the best resource for that is to go over to my Instagram, Jester Section Hiker. And y'all, the 10 days, we did it. We went through the park. We learned. We got the miles in. And feeling really, really, really good for this next leg of hiking on the Appalachian Trail and continuing to work on my second section hike completion. And that starts tomorrow, just outside Bear Mountain State Park. I am going to try to be better at recording on the trail. So my plan is now, and you all know all of this is subject to change, I will do some episodes based around my hiking in New York. I'll do some episodes based around some hiking that I need to do in Connecticut. And then after that, y'all, I got a big 4th of July secret coming soon on some amazing hiking that is going to be happening starting July the 5th for about 2 weeks. And I'm so excited. I can't hardly stand it, but I'm going to fill you in on that soon. But for now, we are headed to New York to click off some miles on the Appalachian Trail. So I hope you all have enjoyed these past 2 episodes about the Shenandoah National Park. And y'all know how this goes. Thanks for listening. Be safe out there, everybody. And as always, happy section hiking, and we'll see you soon.